Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Essentially Dacob. I have just posted a while ago a video about gatekeeping perfumes. And what does that mean? And I went into the psychology of how to some people perfumes are a very intimate um, thing. I most of the perfumes I wear at home. Alone. I wear them throughout the day for me. They accentuate my mood, they accentuate my tone, they accentuate my vibe. And I don't wear perfumes to get compliments. I don't wear perfumes just to go out for a special occasion to hopefully attract people. To me, perfumes are a very intimate thing. It's something for me. And if I allow somebody to get really close to me, then they can smell it. So hence, I also never really cared for perfumes having a beast projection, lasting 20 hours. A lot of people say, well, the perfume is only as good as the time it's lasting on your skin. A lot of people associate the price of a perfume with how many hours it lasts on their skin. That's not me. Coco Chanel used to say a perfume can also be something very, very tiny, subtle, something that you smell only when you get close to a person. Everybody has their own character. Not to say, though, I'm not here sitting and judging people who love to wear perfume out and about, who love to wear perfume when they're going on a date, when they're going dancing, going into the city. I have nothing against people who love to wear perfume in order to get compliments in order to get noticed because they're wearing the perfume. I have nothing against people who want to spend good money on a perfume that has really long longevity. That's all legit. It's your money. You um, literally decide for yourself what that money is worth to you and how much a perfume is worth to you and what a perfume should do to you. But for me, a perfume is something very intimate. So when somebody just out of the blue, when I'm walking in the city, running errands, stops and says, "Oh my God, great perfume! What is it? What are you wearing?" I'm like, I feel violated. Not that I don't want to share what perfume I'm wearing, but it's just that, like in that moment, it's like asking me something very intimate about myself. Now, you can watch that video on my channel. And the video is entitled Intimate Perfumes, the Perfumes I Never Share, Gatekept for a Reason. And I'll post a link to that video down below. But so I post that video and then a floodgate of comments start arriving. And some people don't seem to have understood what I meant, potentially. And I want to clear the air. So we're going to read some of the comments here. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. Thumb up the video, subscribe. Thank you so much for the support and the love. And so it's really kind of difficult. So for example, Countess McBeevy commented, these are all public comments available under the video, you can read them. And Countess said, I think it's interesting that you have this perspective because I've never met someone that feels this way. I'm from Miami, and we marinate in our fragrance. We wear it abundantly and unapologetically. In Miami, we're happy to share what we're wearing because it's a source of pride for us. We want you to notice and love it. I'm always happy to share what I'm wearing. The only time it's uncomfortable is if it's a discontinued fragrance or something a little more niche, and the answer isn't a simple, oh, I'm just wearing Chanel No. 5 Parfum. But I can appreciate how you feel about it. I'd be very embarrassed if I asked someone what perfume they were wearing. I'm adding that part. And just explain. And they didn't tell me, to be honest. So I've stopped asking now because I knew you felt this way for some time, and you brought it to my attention that maybe some people don't appreciate it. I have to admit, though, if it's stinky, I have to ask to avoid the mistake of wearing it myself. LOL. So, of course, if a perfume is stinky, you kind of walk away from that person. You don't even want to ask them what they're wearing because you're just, ugh. But sometimes I do wear perfume, for example, when I go out, when I'm feeling in a mood of like, I'm not feeling very social today. I feel very vulnerable. I will sometimes spray a very intense, strong perfume that I hope will function as a repellent that will repel people. as a shield to protect me from people, right? That sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But perfumes can be used in many different ways, in other words. So I answered and I said, I think it's awesome that you love to share the perfumes you are wearing when in public. There are days when I spray just a smidge of perfume before going out because I don't want to overpower anybody when out and about with my scent. But then there are those days when I overspray and need to use my perfume as a shield of protection, repelling everybody away from me if the perfume is too strong and unusual. And then there are those days when I do not think about it and just spray a perfume I am feeling in that moment before leaving the house, and then, halfway through town, I realize that I sprayed the perfume without thinking about it, and all of a sudden, for an instant, I feel vulnerable, like I were naked, when I'm like, oh my god, I sprayed the perfume I really felt this perfume and I sprayed it without thinking that I'm going out in public with it, and I catch a whiff of myself while I'm walking in town. And I'm like, oh my god, oh, I feel so naked all of a sudden because like the perfume is so me in that moment and I just feel completely vulnerable. But that sensation passes. I pull myself together. Having said all that, I am aware that I am a particular case when it comes to perfumes. It's not that deep for everybody, and I respect that stance as well for it not being that deep. Uh, so, there's that. Um, Yeah. Okay. So Michelle Korhonen commented in the live chats, says, "I have never understood people that just use perfume to counteract to others. I learned. Hold on, I have to scroll the chats. I just missed that chat. We'll get back to it in just a second." um, because yeah, the chats are scoring really bad. By the way, subscribe also to my main Super Dacob channel. This is where I live stream several times a week, and I also film some videos that end up here on the Perfume channel, and you can partake in the live chats, and we can talk about these things live, virtually. So Michelle says, I have never understood people that just use perfume to counteract to others. I've learned without Mama that perfumes are for us to feel pampered and hugged by a cloud of well-being. I completely agree with you. Then Perfecto said, yes, perfume is a personal psychological weapon. I love that. And also, Perfecto says, it depends on the person who asks. I easily share with strangers, but where I live, people are jealous and judgmental. So I always answer, it's something like Avon or Oriflame, however you pronounce it. I wouldn't share my expensive or rare perfumes just to protect my peace. Ivan Fairweather says, I used to share what I wore until a coworker who was having an affair with her boss bought my then signature scent for him. And he wore it in the office. I will happily share information with strangers who I will not meet again. We'll go. Ruth Gordon says, Dacob, you have every right to protect your privacy and your peace. However, I think it's a profound kindness to share the name of your perfume when someone asks. Recently, I had a verge of tears scent memory and was so grateful to the woman who shared what the scent was. I answered saying, well, it all depends on the moment and vibe one gets from the stranger asking us for information about ourselves. If a kind lady is coming my way and I feel a good energy emanating from her and she's emotional and telling me, oh my God, this perfume reminds me of my mom, what is it? Of course I would say what perfume it is. I'm not an asshole. Of course I would. Of course I would feel in that moment, I would melt as well, I would feel for that person. I have empathy, you guys. I'm not a machine. Of course, in that moment, you know what I mean? I would say that. But, if somebody else just comes by me and is like, you over there, what perfume are you wearing? I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And who are you? Hold on a second. Back off. In other words, we have to learn maybe to be a little bit more polite to each other when we meet in real life. I know that internet has taken over our lives, and I have a feeling a lot of people have lost that ability to socialize correctly, the curtsy of it all, good manners. For example, if I encounter a stranger on the street, in the supermarket, wherever, and they smell amazing, they pass by and I catch a whiff of them and I'm just, oh my gosh. The thing I might tell them, if any, usually I would just let it pass. I wouldn't say anything. But if we catch eye contact by accident or anything, and I feel like, oh, there's a connection, then I would tell them, oh my gosh, I love your scent. It's beautiful. But I would never ask what it is. Never. I would never impose. I would let them know, you smell divine. Just wanted to let you know. Uh, thank you for doing us all a public service. Okay. And have a great day. And then if they stop and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's blah, blah, blah. And then they tell me what perfume they're wearing. Good. Thank you for letting me know what perfume you're wearing. That's on you, but that's for you to decide. That's not for me to impose. Okay? This is just manners. If you want to know my 5 cents on what I think is the correct way to behave in this case, obviously everybody has their own way of moralizing about this, going about what is the correct attitude, okay, the correct way of behaving in this instance. What is the politically correct attitude in this moment? This would be my way of dealing with it, but other people apparently have other ways of dealing with it. Interesting how somebody said that, here, this one. Leslie Cloud, I found this comment very interesting. Leslie says, I get it if it comes from a stranger, like asking for what perfume you're wearing and you feel like, whoa. But do you also feel this way when it's a friend, a colleague, or an acquaintance? You bare your soul to all 12,700 subscribers of us watching you regularly through your perfume reviews. If I met you and you were wearing, for example, Guerlain's Mahora or Mahora, I would expect a very different interaction than if you were wearing Eau de Cologne. If you can share so much of your inner world with us, I guess I would expect you to do the same in your personal life. This is a very interesting comment, and I think this one kind of hits the nail on the head, because I think this comment really touches base on how viewers treat us content creators sometimes. Now, Leslie very delicately explained the situation, and she did it very nicely. But there's something in the comment that makes you think, okay, so basically, if we dissect the comment, so Leslie said, look, you are very open and you go deep into the psychology and the emotions of perfumes on your perfume channel. When you talk about perfumes, when you review perfumes, you tell us what they make you feel, how they make you feel, what memories they trigger, what stories they tell you. Sometimes certain perfumes make you remember past stories and you share them and they're very intimate. So me as a viewer of your channel, I would expect that if I ever met you in real life, I would want that depth of emotional interaction with you. So if I saw you ever in real life, I would expect to just come to you, and say, oh, you smell divine. What perfume are you wearing? And tell me what it makes you feel. And I'm like, okay, hold on a minute. You see, no, that is wrong. That is wrong. And I'll explain to you why, guys. When I film a video about perfumes and how they make me feel, and I am like completely open in that moment, it's because I chose to sit in front of the camera, press record, and open my soul to the camera. I only do that when I feel strong enough, when I feel comfortable enough, when I feel safe enough, when the energy is right, when the mood is right. You know what I mean? In other words, I get to choose when I am ready to open up about emotions. And when I am ready, That's when I film my videos. So I don't sit here 24/7 in my filming room, filming emotional stuff all day long. It happens rarely. This is one of the reasons why I post 2 perfume videos a week and not 7 or 10 or 20. Things might change in the future, but for now, this is how I feel. So it's one thing, to say you're pouring out your soul in your videos, so I would expect you to do that when I met you in real life. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. No, I have a choice in my studio when I'm filming my videos. I film them only when I am ready to open up. But on the other hand, if I am in the city running errands, my mind is in a completely different place and I am not open, and you encounter me in the city and you come to me behaving like I am one of my videos, you're interacting with me as if you expect me. You know what I mean? Like you're taking for granted that I have to be in that moment as open and as intimately ready to share as I am in my videos. And I'm like, well, that's where you're wrong. That's where you are wrong, because I have a choice when to turn on the camera and film my video. But I didn't get a choice when you came to me in the city randomly and just said, okay, now I want you to open up, be emotional. I'm like, I had no choice. You know what I mean? You kind of jumped on me and you expected me to open up. So that's a big difference. So you cannot expect me to be the same way of open and emotional when you meet me randomly on the street. And I never met you in real life before. You know me through my videos, but I don't know you. So I think there has to be people need to learn to kind of, I don't want to say accept, but have to learn that there's a difference between consuming our content on the internet and consuming the moment when you actually meet us in real life. Those are two different instances. But I can also give it back to you and say, look, you get a chance to choose if you want to click on my video, because you're starting your idea by saying, well, you always pour out all your emotions in your videos, so I expect you to do that also in real life. I'm like, wait, hold on a minute, but you were not forced to watch my video. You decided, you were given a choice. You were given a choice as a viewer whether or not to click on my video. You didn't have to click on my video. I did not force you to click on my video. You get to choose if you want to watch my video or not, right? But when I'm out and about running my errands and you ambush me, I don't have a choice. And you ambushed me. And then on top of that, you want to know what perfume I'm wearing, what it makes me feel, how am I emotionally that day? I'm like, whoa, we're crossing way too many boundaries here. There has to be a difference. Now, I know that YouTube and content creation on YouTube is a relatively young job and a young form of social media communication. And people are still learning the pleasantries that go with it, the education that goes with it, because obviously, television and movies have existed for way longer. There's a whole different approach and a whole different attitude of how people, actors in movies and TV shows behave, or how moderators, hosts, TV show hosts behave on television. It feels like if you are a content creator on YouTube or TikTok, like you have that comment section right there, and you're constantly interacting with your viewers. A late night TV show host, there's no comment interaction. They're paid, they have their sponsors, they have the investors, they have the whole TV station behind them. They arrive on set, they film their thing, everything is scripted or something is improvised. They have a live studio audience that is told when to applaud, that is told when to stay silent, and then that is told, hey, now we might take 3 questions from the audience, and then they're told to leave when it's over. It's a very different scenario to actually creating content as a content creator on social media. So it's still, I think, a landscape where we are learning a lot from each other. And we're all learning also a lot how to behave with each other when we are online with each other as opposed to when we meet in real life. Shop Queen says, I've once shared the name of my favorite and obscure perfume and the person found and bought it. I felt so violated despite it being a compliment. And I get this. I know some people are upset and they say like, just share everything, share everything. Like, yeah, but somebody said, not sharing, Madame of the Cat House said, not sharing your perfume when someone asks sounds like a mid game to me or a mind game to me. Make a person feel like they did something wrong when in fact they didn't. Little power trip. So I answered to Madame of the Cat House. I said, well, you also feel compelled to share your bank details and address while you at it? For some people, it is intimate. You know what I mean? You're like, well, you have to tell me what perfume you're wearing. How dare you withhold that information from me? I'm like, okay, so, what's your social security number? What's your home address? What underwear are you wearing? And that person could be like, well, that's intimate. What's the difference? What's the difference? And I find it fascinating because this same person commented on a gazillion other, sub-comments. And at one point, they also said something to the effect of, so Veronica said, exactly how I feel about sharing the names of my perfumes, but I also don't like to wear very personal perfumes in public. To me, it's like wearing your mood printed on your t-shirt. And I agree. This is a really good point. Sometimes this is why I said earlier, sometimes I don't think really about, oh, I'm leaving the house now and I put a really intimate perfume on that really is emotional for me, which I wouldn't usually wear when leaving the house, but I put it on and then I leave the house and then like 1 hour later I realize, oh my God, it's my special perfume. I feel so naked now, so vulnerable. So I get exactly what Veronica means. Now, Madam of the Cat House says, it's a perfume for Pete's sake. It is mass-produced and commercially available to everyone who wants to buy it. Then Veronica replies, says, yes, it is a commercial product, but my mood, emotion, state on a certain day is not a product. And this is what I think where Madame of the Cat House doesn't understand it, because she kept saying like, well, it's just a product. It's a product. I'm like, yeah, your house is just a product. So tell me your address. Your social security card is just a piece of paper. It's just a product. Tell me the number that's printed on it. See what I mean? It's like, and again, this person, I have the feeling like picks and chooses, this cat person picks and chooses what is good for her or them. I don't know who this is. And then they go with that scenario on an offensive, they posted 50 comments underneath this video. It's insanity. And then they kind of attack and attack and attack. And I'm like, it's people like you that have no sense of listening to what the person they're talking to is saying. You just kind of come at a person, but you never listen to a person. It's people like you that bring us to a position and a situation that we're in right now. With all the troubles we're going through in this year, it's people like you that do this because you've never learned to listen. You have your opinion, you are as stubborn as a mule, and you will never listen to what the other person is telling you. You will never learn how to read between the lines, those fine lines between somebody pausing before they give you an answer. Why did they pause? What does that pause tell you? Trust you me, that pause can speak volumes if you learn how to listen. And I'm saying this because this is also what perfumes do. Perfumes don't need to be loud. Perfumes don't need to always last 10 hours. Perfumes don't need to have this crazy longevity, silage. They don't need any of that. if that's what you want, go for it. That's okay too. But they don't need that. And you don't need that. If you don't feel the need, that's okay. That's okay. Now, the person who is loud and who is going on this crusade on commenting under every one of my viewers' comments almost, fighting everybody like a keyboard warrior, you see, that tells us a lot about you. House of Cat House. Because like you're not listening. And you're making people feel uncomfortable. Now, either you feel pleasure in making people feel uncomfortable, which tells us a whole other aspect about who you are, or you're not that intelligent to understand that actually you're making people feel uncomfortable. And quite frankly, both are terrible reasons, but the second one is even scarier because it's the dumb that unfortunately drag down also the ones that have a little bit more intellect. And now we're all sitting in the same shit because of people like you. And no, I'm not going to tell you what perfume I'm wearing, honey, because I don't like your attitude. Is that clear enough? Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I wonder how many how many managed to read between the lines in this video. IYK. Love you loads. Subscribe. Never give up on love. Bye. Oh, and let me know your thoughts down below.